Hi, welcome to today's session on how to get the most value from your existing software systems. I'm JP Lassard. Be sure to check out the other videos in this series with both myself and my colleague John Horner. Today we're going to talk more about how to empower your people, and specifically how to make them what I call power users of the software. What you're trying to accomplish is to get the best results, of course, and meet the full potential of your software. And I equate software to a tool. It's a tool that people use to get a job done, right? The job is what your business does every day. What you want is the full potential. You want great results. So if I'm using these tools, hammer and chisel, great results might be a sculpture like this, like David. But tools alone aren't going to create those results. So you could have the best hammer and chisel in the world. It's not necessarily going to produce that kind of outcome. So what you want to think about is the users, who are using the tools. And it's not just about having great users, of course, great talent and those types of things, but also using the tools in the best way possible to produce those great outcomes, to meet the full potential of what you're trying to accomplish. So let's combine and let's throw in the missing piece in there from what was there at the beginning, which is Michelangelo himself. Of course, years and years of training and a lot of talent. If you replace that picture with my picture, same tools, different results. Not necessarily going to come out as good as what Michelangelo did. So think about it in those terms, that really what I'm trying to do is help create this part of the equation here. I want to have great tools and I want to have great users. So when I have power users, they're going to produce great results for your business. So how can we do that? Number one, create some process documentation, or what I call guidelines. So try to keep it simple. You want to focus on the 80-20 rule. So in this case, what is done 80% of the time? Your top processes that you use every day. Well, document those so that you get consistency. And do it in a way that is simple. Keep it simple. Keep it short. Half a page, 1 page. Think in terms of quick start guides versus user manuals. So if you open a piece of electronics these days and you're getting something hardware-wise, you've got a quick start guide that's like 2-3 pages long, and you've got a manual that might be 40 pages long. Well, that manual goes right in the trash and you use a quick start guide. Think about that for your people as well. Make it short and simple so that they can be consistent with what they do. Number 2, train and retrain. Train your people. And a good method to do this, especially if you have a lot of people doing the same types of processes, is what we call train the trainer. And in this case, look for people who are your best learners and your best teachers. They may not be your best doers, right? So your best producers might not be the people that you train on something. It's the people that can convey this knowledge to the rest of your team. So use that method to get that information out there and to make it consistent. Number 2, make it digestible and usable. So don't cram a whole bunch of learning into this is a 1 week, we're going to spend all 40 hours this week learning how to use the software the best. People are going to forget the things, especially in the middle of the week. They'll remember maybe the beginning, maybe the end. So spread it out. Break it into bite-sized chunks. So maybe it's an hour of training here or there, a couple hours of training, half a day, spread over the course of a couple of months. So break it up, let people digest, absorb, and apply what they've learned to do the best in their software. And finally, use refreshers. So once a year or every once in a while, just have refresher courses on, again, here's our simple, consistent way of doing things. Just remind people this is the best way to do it. And you can also update your documentation as you do those refreshers, so you can always look for better ways to do things. So make sure that people are trained well on how to use the software and what your typical processes are. And finally, take an adoption is not optional approach. So in this case, if you keep the old way available to people, they're most likely going to follow the old way of doing it. So you got to remove the old way. If you're going paperless, get rid of the printer, take it out of the office, go recycle it, go bring it somewhere that it could be used, but get rid of it, otherwise people are still going to use it. If you have an old template or an old way of doing something, old software, this is how to get the most value out of your current software. If people are still using the old one and they're not using the new one some of the time, well then that's not going to be very efficient. So get rid of the old one. Force people to use the current, what you believe is the best approach. Hunt for shadow IT. So shadow IT is that somebody for some reason is creating their own way of doing something. They might create their own spreadsheet, their own document, their own process that's not following those short guides that you talked about before. So hunt those things down. And it's not just because you want to eradicate them, because you do want consistency. You want people doing it the same way, but it's because there's a reason why someone felt the need to do that. So ask them, why do you feel the need to do it this way as opposed to our standard way? Because there may be some hidden gem in there that you can now incorporate into your best practices moving forward. So look for that shadow IT, figure out why it's there, incorporate it into your standards moving forward, and force people to use it in the system. And what this is all going to do is what I call forced improvement. So if people have to use the new way of doing things, they're going to give you feedback, they're going to say what does and doesn't work for them, and it's going to force you to improve the software itself. So force people to use it, they'll force improvement for you, and it'll just drive that continuous improvement for you that you really want. So now that you know how to approach this, put your people and your software together to create powerful results. Thank you, and until next time, feel free to ask us if you have any questions.